In this video, I'm going to show you 11 essential pricing strategies that every Airbnb host needs to know. Because in today's competitive Airbnb market, mastering the art of pricing is crucial, both for maximizing your earnings and keeping your calendar full. I'm Dave, a long-time host, welcoming over 15,000 guests a year across 75 properties and doing £4 million in booking revenue per year. Now that's a lot of rates. And this channel exists to help you get started or level up your Airbnb game. So the first thing that you absolutely need to do, step one, is to get a firm idea of what your base price should be. This is the rate that everything else that we talk about in this video is going to be based off. So it's so important not to skip this step. If you do, you're just going to end up guessing and nothing that we talk about here is going to work. And so to find what your base price should be, you need to dive right in and do a bit of market research. Now this step is particularly useful if you're just getting started and haven't actually got a property yet, because you can literally just find the most profitable places and go get a property there. And you'll also be able to work out what's the most profitable size or type of property and just get one of them. But if you already have a property, then this is still a really important step that you need to take. So for this, you can use a tool like Airbnb, or what is a better way to do it is you can dive on into the Airbnb platform and really hunt around and look for comparables in your area. So by researching comparable properties in your area, you're going to find what's the going rate for your type of property. Look at properties that are the same type, similar size, same amenities, and in roughly the same location as yours. Now the importance of doing this, particularly in the location area, is that you're going to know exactly what other people who are already operating can charge. You're going to see what guests have said about those properties. You're going to see whether they think it's too expensive, and you're going to very quickly see that there's a spread. The best properties in your area are going to charge the highest rates, and the worst properties are going to charge the lowest rates. Now, if you follow this channel, you will know that I'm going to tell you to make your property the best in your area so you can charge the highest rates. No one wants to compete on price. It's an absolute race to the bottom. It's a scarcity mindset. It's a horrible place to be. So do not go for cheap and cheerful. And you will see that when you're bringing your property to market, what you need to add into it to make it be able to charge those highest rates. What amenities do you need to put in? How much does the location affect it? Is it close to attractions or supermarkets or good things or bad things? All of these things impact the rates you can charge. Now, people's rates that they charge on Airbnb are set by normal economic conditions of supply and demand. You cannot cheat these. If people think your prices are too high, they're just not going to book it, and you get taught a lesson very quickly. Likewise, if your prices are too cheap, you're going to get 100% occupancy but not make any money, and it's not going to be worth it. So you can't cheat. So be honest, look for properties that are comparable, set a bar that you're going to meet that whenever you have that property finished or when you purchase it. So it's going to be at least as good as X, whether it's the top, the best one, or the mid-level one, or the budget one, but don't do that. And this is your base rate. It's now set. Now we can move on to all the other things and talk about how we're going to adjust that based on a million different things. So the most obvious pricing strategy that we have is differentiating your rates between weekday and weekend. Typically, weekends are in higher demand, so you're always going to be able to charge higher nightly rates. And again, you'll find that out from your market research, what the comparables in your area, what sort of increase do they charge at the weekends. And this really does depend on your area, because the jump from weekday to weekend can be absolutely vast. It could be 100% more than it is during the week. But crucially as well, as we'll see with all of these, the better your property is, the better the margin you're going to be able to increase for those weekend nights. Now, if you get started and you're getting solidly booked up at really high weekend rates, your weekdays are sitting empty, then you're going to need to look at that rate as well and think about reducing it. Now, we're going to come on to that later on about how to encourage those weekday stays, but if your calendar's going to be empty, you need to lower it. And the other thing to consider with weekday weekend is that not all weekdays are created equal. Thursday is the new Friday. So think about maybe increasing your rate slightly on Thursday compared to the other days, like Monday, Tuesday. They're generally going to be the cheapest nights. Next up, we're talking extra guest fees. So if you have a 2-bedroom property that sleeps 4 people, you may have a sofa bed in the living room or a fold-up bed that you can offer to certain guests, certain parties, and there should be a charge for that. There's going to be extra utilities, extra linen, extra wear and tear in your property, so you've got to charge for that. And guests are going to expect that as well. They know if they book a 2-bedroom property but want to bring 6 people, that there's probably going to be an extra charge. Now, controversially, you could also discount if less guests are coming to stay in your place. And I say this is controversial because guests can get quite savvy, and if they know that it's a remote check-in and they see if your place is a 3-bedroom house that you can sleep 6 people in and a price for 2 people is substantially lower, then they might think, well, we'll bring our 6 people but only pay for the 2. So it's a bit more management in it. But the reason that it is good is because by offering a lower rate for smaller groups, you remain competitive with those smaller properties. Now, I'm not saying you should be offering 1 1-bedroom apartment rates for a 3 or 4 bed house. But by only offering rates for a 4-bed house, groups of 3, 4 or 5 people are going to be completely put off your place because it's just far too expensive. So it is worth, in my opinion, dropping the rate slightly for some smaller groups. Maybe don't drop it right down to be attractive for 1 or 2 people. And also, as a side note, don't take the piss. If you think you can charge more money by letting extra guests stay in there, don't just start firing beds all over the place just to overcrowd it. It is not going to work and you're going to get caught out. Negative reviews. A general rule of thumb is how many bathrooms have you got in your property. I wouldn't want to be offering any more than a ratio of 4 people to 1 bathroom. Just think of the queue in the morning for the shower or the toilet. Now, this additional fee can be added in the price settings of Airbnb. And actually on that, if you're wondering about the cleaning fees, we're going to come to that. Next up is seasonal pricing. And that means adjusting your rates throughout the year based on demand. Now, I haven't heard of any market, any town, any city that has consistent demand all year round. Even us in Belfast, we're a city destination, but the demand peaks in summer and tails off in winter. And it's likely that no matter what, that demand dip and peak is going to happen in your area too. And again, through your research earlier, you're going to see where those peaks are. You're going to see, if you use AirDNA, it shows you very clearly the graph of where the highest demand months are and where the lowest ones are. So you've got to factor that into your rates, because the last thing you want to do is come into a period of low demand and realize you've no bookings in there because your prices are too high. And also, you don't want to be leaving a load of money on the table by having your prices too low and you come into your summer or your peak period and you're just fully booked at rock bottom rates. And this can be quite a hard thing for people to get their head around, depending on when they start listing their property. If you start in winter, if winter is your low season, you're going to be thinking, this business is hard, I'm not making any money. But then if you just hold out, stay strong, when the summer comes, bang, you can make tons of money. Almost your entire profit from the year can come in the summer. But likewise, it works the other way. If you open up in summer and you're charging top whack rates, you're thinking, happy days, I'm going to get this all year round. Then when winter rolls along, like winter is coming, Game of Thrones, you're in trouble, you're worried, you're freaking out. Go in with your eyes open, everywhere is seasonal, and just be prepared for those fluctuations. Next up, I want to talk about special event pricing. So these are not just seasons, but these are specific days or weekends or weeks where there is something big happening in your area and you need to get those rates up. This could be a festival, sporting event, a concert, anything. You need to keep on top of this. You need to be aware of what's coming up so that you can get your rates up quick. Now, yes, there are ethical questions around whether you should be capitalizing on a big concert coming, but this is market forces, supply and demand. The demand is huge. The supply is static. The price of that supply has to go up. So you've got to keep on top of these event calendars and everything that you think might be coming. You might benefit if you're in a big city and you can hear Taylor Swift's coming or the World Cup or something like that. You're going to obviously know that. But if you're in smaller towns or cities, they might not get these big grandstand events. It might be smaller things, but sometimes they can be just as surprising. In Belfast, we got voted, I think, the best conference centre in the world. So we have these weird and wonderful conferences coming from all over the place with thousands of delegates, and it's hard to keep track of them, but it's worth it, because if you don't get those prices up, your bookings are going to flood in for it and you're going to have so much revenue left on the table. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to show you something that's going to just change everything. That's going to take all of this off your plate so you don't have to start scrolling through everything looking for the strange conference that's coming to your place. This thing will do it for you. The next strategy I want to talk about is minimum stay requirements. Setting longer minimum stays allows you to balance occupancy with profit. Longer stays will massively reduce your changeover costs. However, in periods of low demand, they just aren't there. Shorter minimum stays, you can charge much higher nightly rates, but you're going to be hit with all those changeover costs, and add to that all the work involved in dealing with all those bookings. So a general rule of thumb is during periods of high demand, you can push that minimum stay up longer and longer. It could be 3 nights, it could be 7 nights. And likewise, in off-peak times, you may have to reduce your minimum stay from 2 nights down to 1 just to get those bookings in the door. I just want to go a bit deeper on that as well, because when I talk about in periods of high demand and the supply is static, so you can charge whatever you want, during off-peak times, it works the opposite way. The supply is static, but the demand is significantly dropped. So those few guests that are coming to your area have the pick of every property there. And that's why it's so important that you've got the best property possible, because this is when competing on price is a race to the bottom and will make you end up broke. Now, as an added incentive to try and secure some of those longer stays, which remember are going to be much more profitable, it's a good idea to offer discounts per night. So on Airbnb, you can offer a discount for a weekly stay or a monthly stay stay. And again, the thing I'm going to talk about at the end, it gives you much more flexibility than that. But by offering this discount, it gives you the edge over your competitors, because they might have 1 day rate, and if they just multiply it by 7, that's going to be X. But if you offer a 7-day rate, which is a minus 10% discount, or 15 or even 20, all of a sudden your place becomes much more attractive to those guests. Longer stays increases your occupancy, it's far less work, there's reduced turnover costs, reduced cleaning, and they tend to be better guests as well. So one of the big groups who come for longer stays are contractors or corporate, and these are just the best guests. They come, they're here to work, all they do is use your place to go to sleep, and then they go back out the next day. You don't need to worry about parties, you don't need to worry about families. These are the best guests. Often it's just one person. Now next up, I want to talk about cleaning fees. Now put in the comments whether you think adding a cleaning fee to your price is a good thing or a bad thing. I personally cannot stand it. We don't do it to any of our places. I think it turns guests off. I think it turns guests against you whenever they're leaving and you ask them,
could you take the bins out?
They're like, well,
you have already paid you €300 for a cleaning fee.
It makes them much less willing to help out or to even leave the place in any sort of good condition. I also, on a personal level, don't like seeing a rate for something, and when you go to book it, then you see all these other fees added onto it. It just makes me uneasy. Now, if you are going to set a cleaning fee, make sure it's the actual cost of the cleaning. Don't see it as just another little stealth tax or stealth way to increase your revenue, because honestly, people hate it. Like if you look at Reddit forums or anywhere where people talk about Airbnbs, cleaning fees are the biggest thing that people complain about. So for me, I just think you should add it into the nightly rate, have one rate that guest sees, that includes the cleaning fee. There's nothing added on the top of that. That's what I think you should do. Next up, we're talking last minute discounts. Now we've all been there. You're coming into a week and you can see a gap and you're thinking, ooh,
that gap's empty, I need to fill that with some nice guests.
And it's true that by reducing the nightly rate on that gap, you're increasing your chance of getting it booked. However, it's really important that you look at the market to see what else is available for those dates and just make sure that you're not already the cheapest. Because if you are, you're just throwing money away. You want to maintain your level in the hierarchy of how good your property is in relation to everyone else. Remember, we're not here to compete on price, but if the best listing in town is cheaper than you are for your gap, then you need to reduce yours. But it's also really crucial that you understand what your break-even price is. There is no point reducing your rates to a level that's so low that once Airbnb takes their commission, your changeover costs come out that you actually make zero money, or even costs you money to host these guests. Sometimes it just makes sense to leave a couple of gaps and let those dates slide. It's not always the case that having to book it in at any cost is worth it, because remember here, the goal is profit, not occupancy. Next up, and this is an ongoing process, is that you need to regularly review the competition in your area. You've popped up and you've used everyone else's rates to determine yours. Well, guess what? Other people are popping up and they're looking at your rates to determine theirs. Maybe demand is increasing in your area and you need to put your rates up. Maybe supply is massively increasing in your area and you're going to have to put your prices down. You need to stay on top of what everyone else is doing. And you'll see yourself, if your calendar is so fully booked, it's unbelievable, bookings are flying in, you're too cheap. Likewise, if you've got gaps everywhere and you're just not selling even weekends, well then there's something really wrong. Now I'm going to say it again, it's not about being the cheapest, it's about being competitive for what you're offering the guests. And reviews are going to play a big part in this. If you're running this place very well and you're getting loads of 5-star reviews, well guess what? It becomes more and more in demand. You can start putting that price up. But if you've got a beautiful property but you're not on top of the guest communication and you're getting negative reviews, when it doesn't matter how nice it is, people aren't going to pay top dollar. So monitor your competitors, see the newbies that are coming in, see what everyone in the area is doing, and adjust your rates accordingly. Only you know where you sit in the ladder of how good your property is. And like I said before, you might think it's amazing, but the market determines how good it is. Now, all of this sounds like a lot of work, and it is. When I first started, I was tinkering away with rates all the time, almost every day. $2 up, £3 down. Oh, look at him. He's a competitor. He's not. Oh, look at this new one. You go down a rabbit hole of trying to change these rates for every single day. And the answer to that for all of these strategies is to use a dynamic pricing tool. Something like Price Labs, which is the link below you can use. This is the thing that takes all of those headaches away. Now, yes, Airbnb smart pricing is free, but it's absolutely useless. Do not use it ever. All it wants to do is to put your rates rock bottom so that potential guests book through Airbnb. A proper platform that's made for us hosts to increase our revenue is what you need. So it's something like Price Labs, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing. They all do similar things, but they automatically adjust your rates multiple times a day based on demand, based on length of stay. All the strategies that we've talked about, they know what your competitors are. They know what your competitors are charging and when they've changed their rates. They know when bookings have come in. They know when Taylor Swift or the weird conference is coming. This is the thing that's going to get you all of those hours back. Now, we've been using rate pricing software for a couple of years now, and it's not only brilliant at filling the gaps, at putting the minimum price in, which you actually set, by the way. You said, don't want my price to ever go below this. It adjusts it up and down. But the real game changer for us has been how high it puts the rates in periods of high demand. Now, you're going to do your research and you're going to think, yeah, my top rate might be $300. But Price Labs is putting our rates to rates that I would never have done myself. But you know what? Bookings are coming in at those rates. Now, pricing strategies is one thing, but next you need to watch this video where I talk about 12 things I wish I knew when I was just starting out in Airbnb. Oh yeah, just forgot, I've got the whole way through this video and I haven't asked you to subscribe, so please subscribe. And as usual, leave me a comment, tell me where you're from. See you next time.